The mind-blowing reveal is finally here, and this shows us so much potential as to why and how Gojo is actually going to return in Jujutsu Kaisen. Let's just show why this way of thinking is going to work for any and every single Gojo fan going forward into Jujutsu Kaisen. What we see right after the epic battle between Gojo and Sukuna, during Gojo's visions we begin to learn that Nanamine would actually have a very concrete point as to how Gojo would be able to come back, coming into these newer chapters into the series. And of course, this evidence would be from a previous chapter, with it being chapter 236. Nanamine would say, "That was an end worthy of you. I won't condone it, but I can sympathize." He would say a curse can save people just like jujutsu. In the past, this is what Miss May said when I asked her about recommendations for leaving the country. If you want to start anew, head north. If you want to return to yourself, head south. Nanamine would say without hesitation, "I chose somewhere south. I'm such a backward looking person, and yet I bet on the future in my final moment." Now, this really brings a question: what exactly would Gojo have bet on in his final moment? Do you guys think he would have put north or south? Type that in the comments below. Taking these words into consideration, if he wanted to start a new life, he would have to head north. This is going to lean more into the idea of Gojo actually becoming a cursed spirit, aka a god in of itself, because most of you would probably think that there would not be a single possibility of Gojo coming back as a cursed spirit, but I could tell you today that you couldn't be even more wrong. Also guys, make sure to leave a like and watch the video from the very beginning to the end. I greatly appreciate it, because with your support, I can continue to make more content. Because if we really want to technically analyze the way that Sukuna actually ended up killing Gojo, we would notice that upon looking even further into Gojo's death itself, that when it comes to being attacked by Sukuna's quote-unquote new curse technique, that this curse technique in of itself does not cause cursed energy to come into contact with Gojo at all, because after all, this isn't an extension, and this extension would exist in the space world. Now, would this exist in the actual world of Jujutsu Kaisen, in the world in which the soul would actually exist, so that it would purify Gojo and make him not actually turn into a cursed spirit? Well, if you ask me, with so much little to be known about the Six Eyes in of itself, and the possibility of this attack not possibly even exercising Gojo's soul, lets us to actually believe that Gojo's comeback is nothing less than a far cry. Especially with Nanami's comment on heading north to change or returning to your old self. Once again, this is something that you would have to decide within your final moment, and Gojo's choice will be all the difference here. Because truly, he will become a cursed spirit. The target of the attack was not Satoru Gojo. It would have extended all the way to space existence and the world themselves. So if the attack's target is not Gojo, then the cursed energy in of itself would not have cured Gojo when it came to his death. It's just so simple. All you need to do is think about it. Take at least 5 seconds, alright? Now let's cut to the chase, right? So, if the attack is not targeting or attacking Gojo, then how is Gojo able to get exorcised by the cursed energy? This leads us to the conclusion that he will most likely come back as a cursed spirit. And with the north and south being mentioned, Nanamine would have went north, but he went backwards and went south. This is why we see a younger version of Nanamine in comparison to anyone else. So if Gojo goes north, he will definitely, without a doubt, become a cursed spirit. That, with the Six Eyes probably even taking a toll and a spin on his new transformation. Because oddly enough, we are so far in the story and we still do not have a single idea of what exactly the Six Eyes is and what kind of perks that it gives Gojo. There's still a lot of potential here, and honestly, you can interpret the north as life and the south as death. The plot would only thicken here because really, if we want to dissect the conversation here, look a little bit more into this amalgamation of Satoru's imagination, we would realize something very interesting. He would call out to the president and say, wasn't there supposed to be no such thing as a sorcerer dying without any regrets? So what could this be referencing? Maybe it could be referencing himself and he could potentially be dying with certain regrets. With the regrets of not being able to prove that he's the strongest, the regrets of not being able to protect his students, or possibly even seeing what kind of development that they have. And also, Satoru still didn't even complete his dream. The dream of turning the entire jujutsu world around. With an ambition like that met, there is definitely a lot of room for Satoru to have died with plenty of regrets and the opportunity to allow him to become a curse. Even with everything said and done, there's one huge thing that we had to also think about. The very fact that cursed energy flows through the mind, and that same brain that Satoru uses is the very thing that allows him to regenerate and come back to life. Now, if he can get killed by Toji the first time and then come back to life, what's really stopping him from doing this same exact thing after fighting Sukuna? Your guess is really as good as mine, because guess what? For all we know, Gojo could just be off screen healing the entire time. But that's not all. Isn't it really just arrogant of Sukuna not to completely stomp Gojo's head in? Especially when we want to take the time to think about the possibility of him coming back, and the very fact that the same technique that Sukuna used just so happened to be a very experimental one. With this being an experimental technique, who just really knows the kind of outcome that could happen? Really, at the end of the day, it's a free hypothesis, because at the end of the day, Sukuna really wasn't even going all out on Gojo. And of course, he would know this himself, and wouldn't Gojo want more than anything a battle to fight all out against Sukuna again? It only makes so much sense. Of course, this is all just mere speculation, but we all know a part of Kenjaku's plan is to merge every single human being inside of Tengen, making a giant impurity that is going to most likely be capable of immortality. Now, instead of all these people, let's take all of these people and throw them away and simply replace them with Gojo. Now, wouldn't this just fuel the idea of a comeback for Gojo, being able to actually have immortality and take the form of something even more powerful, even more godlike than Sukuna already is? Really, taking it from the top, think about the possibilities here. We have Master Tengen, who is known for immortality, and he also has a striking resemblance to Sukuna. Now we take Sukuna and we take Gojo and have them both compete for that same immortality, especially since both of them will be cursed spirits by the end of the series. And this is just one simple route things could really take, as long as Gojo is still alive and able to make his own comeback. The immortality factor that Tengen possesses is something that I really don't think is going to go to waste at all, and it would be crazy for it not to be used at this point. Well, comment down below what you guys think, and I'll definitely be tuning into that. With that being said, I think that's a video.